If you're a therapist wondering, how do I make more money when you're already seeing 25 to 35 clients per week, you are coming face to face with the therapist income ceiling. There is only so much you can earn seeing clients back to back. If you want to learn how to make more without stacking on more back-to-back clients, this video is going to change the way you think about your practice entirely. And what I'm going to share isn't something that you learned in grad school. In fact, your colleagues probably aren't talking about this either. There are 3 paths to making more money as a therapist, and 2 of them are traps. Trap number 1 is to see more clients. You literally can only see so many clients in a week. It's going to cause you to get burned out. You're going to start to have health problems. That is not the path that you want to go down. So we're going to take that one off the list right away. Trap number 2 is to build a group practice. A group practice is a common way for therapists to make more money. The problem is that you're really exchanging the back-to-back client sessions for constantly having to find new clients and bring them to the therapists that are working underneath of you. And you got to worry about rent, overhead, and the human shenanigans and management that goes along with having people working underneath of you who are then seeing clients underneath of them. When we talk about making more money as a therapist, we don't want to actually make your life more stressful. We just want to increase the income, ideally while working less. There is a third solution that people will commonly talk about, which is to charge more. And this one isn't a trap per se, but there's reasons why it doesn't actually work. There's a lot of talk out there about charging what you're worth, and it is a common idea that if I just raise my rates, you will inherently make more money off of the one-on-one sessions that you're doing. The most common time that therapists will raise their rates is after they've gotten a training. So if you're spending $3,000-$4,000 to get trained in something new, are you really making more money by raising your rates? It takes a while for that to balance out. But the real issue with raising your rates, and the reason you're always going to hit a ceiling when you work this way, is that how much you can charge is directly related and proportionate to the results that you can promise to your client or your customer. Because at the end of the day, that's what people are coming to you for. They're coming for a result. And almost all of the therapists that I have met feel really uncomfortable with the idea of even starting to say that I can give results, not even promising or guaranteeing, but even putting out there what the results that the clients can expect can start to make them feel uncomfortable. And yet this is how business really works, is people are looking to solve their problem. And when they come to you and pay you money, it's to get that problem solved. And that's the result that they're looking for. But the language that we learn in therapy school is more like, I'm going to walk with you on your journey. I'll hold space for you and for whatever wants to arise. This is not an outcome, and it's not what people are looking for. Traditional therapy doesn't promise results. And from a purely business and marketing perspective, this is a poor business model to expect people to pay us on an ongoing basis when we are not promising a result for them. This is the real reason that therapists struggle to raise their rates, and that there's always going to be a ceiling of how high they can go, because it's directly related to what outcome they can promise. And when they can't promise an outcome, it's really fair from the customer's perspective to not want to pay an arm and a leg for the ongoing type of support that therapy naturally is. So charging more, raising your rates will help increase your income a little bit, but it's never going to get you to the next level. The third path that will actually help you to scale your business and your impact while making more money is to run groups, but not in all the way you've been thinking about them. Let's just look at some simple math here to think about groups from a numbers perspective. So let's say I run an 8-week group and I get 10 people in and they all pay me $4.99 to take that group. I'm making just under $5,000. If I want to make that same $5,000 seeing individual clients and I charge $125 an hour, then I would need to see 40 clients. So the choice is, do I want 40 one-on-one sessions, or I can teach a 2-hour class once a week for 8 weeks? Which one sounds lighter? Which one gives you more of a life? This is what scaling actually means. It doesn't mean adding more and more onto your plate so that you can reach higher levels of income. It means leveraging your time so that you earn more, but actually have a better life. And you're probably thinking, yeah, Michelle, I have run therapy groups, they're great, or I want to run more, but I struggle to fill them. That's the most common problem that I hear from therapists. So here's where therapists go wrong when it comes to running groups. You're designing the group around the modality, like art therapy for trauma, or grief processing group, somatic healing circle. Those types of groups are designed around the how, not the result. Nobody pays for the how. People pay for the result. This is why you struggle to fill your groups and get lukewarm attendance. Think about it this way. If you want to fly to Paris, do you care what color the airplane seats are? Do you care if there's 100 rows of seats or 150 rows of seats? You don't care how you get to Paris. You care about the fact that the plane brings you to Paris and not Sydney, Australia, or some other place, because we pay for the outcome. This is true in all types of businesses, but therapy school doesn't teach you to think like a business. So anytime that I design a group experience, I design it with the end in mind. I say, this is the outcome that people are going to walk away with. What do I need to do in order for that to happen? And then this is what I talk to people about, the outcome, the thing they care about, not what color the seats are going to be or how many rows of seats there are in the plane. If you've ever noticed people are interested in your groups, but they don't actually sign up, this is why. If it ever felt like a struggle to convey to people the actual value of what it is that you're going to be offering them in your group, this is why. And there's another reason that therapists struggle with groups, and it's because they often treat a group experience like it's one-on-one, but just with more people. This really has a toll on your energy. You're physically going to pay the price when you run groups this way, and you're not going to want to run them nearly as much because of how draining they'll be. In therapy school, you're taught to attune and hold space for your individual client. But when you try to translate that to groups, you're going to be exhausted and burnt out trying to attune to each person and their needs, because you're still allowing the client to lead. And then you're multiplying that by however many more people are in the room. Constantly adapting and attuning to each person, whoever shows up in the room on that day, is not a good model for your energy, and it's not going to be as effective as designing with the outcome in mind. What actually works, the rewire that you want to do with your brain, is you're thinking of running a group. You design it with the end in mind. So you look at your ideal customer and you say, what is the problem that they're so concerned about that they're thinking about it before they go to bed at night, when they wake up in the morning, and I'm going to solve that problem for them. This is what I have to do in order to get that to happen. So I designed the process to have the outcome produce the result that people are looking for. And the process, the how that we get to that outcome, is the framework that you then invite people into. So you're not attuning to every single person and what's showing up for them in the moment. You're inviting them into a structure that you know produces the outcome that they actually want. This is much easier on your energy. The structure, the framework does the heavy lifting, and it's actually more effective for your clients. So the old way to think about groups is, this is a safe place for you to heal from traumas of your past. No specific timeline, no clear outcome. We don't know what the destination is. Just come and see what happens. The new way is, here's a specific client type. Here's their very specific problem. This is the outcome that I can guarantee they will have by following this structure. This outcome is what people are searching for, so they already understand the value because they already want to solve the problem that you're solving for them. When you design groups this way, they will easily fill because you're conveying the value that people are actually searching for. A really good question that hopefully you're thinking about right now is, how do I guarantee results? How do I promise to get people to this outcome that I think I'm getting to by walking through this framework that I designed? And the answer is, you have to test it. You cannot skip this step. It isn't enough to imagine how good it's going to work in your mind. You have to run it with real people and see that it produces the results that you're promising. You have to see where it falls flat, where things don't go the way you think they're going to, and iterate and test it again. I spent years and years in this phase of iterating to find out what helped people get the deepest, most profound breakthroughs with the art that they were making with me. I didn't get it right on the first try because what I think is going to happen and what actually plays out with real people is always different. But every time that you see what doesn't work, you can redesign it to help overcome those humps or those hurdles and make sure you're getting people to the outcome that they want and you want for them. And this testing loop, this iterative process, is what got me to the place where I feel confident saying, I can guarantee that you're going to get this result. I know, I'm confident about the method that I've created. And this helps my marketing be so much more honed in because I know how to promise results and speak to what the customer is actually looking for. And it all comes down to the framework, the process, the how that you've designed and tested that you know gets people to the end result that they're looking for. So here's where most therapists land after receiving this information. Okay, in order for me to make more money as a therapist without seeing more clients, I need to run groups. But I have to design it with the end in mind. And to do that, I have to know who my ideal client is. I don't know if I know that. And I have to know what their problem is, their roll out of bed problem. I don't know if I know what that is. And then I have to make sure I can solve that problem and figure out how to solve it in a way that I can feel confident saying, I can promise these results. And at this point, you're probably going to say, how long is this going to take me? Which is a totally valid question. And it's a worthwhile question because if you do really want to leverage your time, help more people, make more money, and actually work less, it is worth the time and the trial and error. And I can help. I've already designed and tested a framework on over 1,000 clients. And I know how long it took me and how much iteration was required. So what I like is to be able to offer therapists such as yourself a shortcut to getting to skip over all of that trial and error and sort of experimenting on your clients and get to the place where you already have the proven framework that you can then implement and put into action. I also like teaching therapists about marketing because we learn about the psychology of people, but the psychology of marketing is so very different. And I struggled a lot to understand it in my early days of business. And it was super frustrating because I was like, why can I understand people and not understand how to market? So I put both of those together into a $27 training. It's called Art for Breakthroughs. I share my exact framework of giving people breakthroughs with art that I've tested out and the 5 marketing essentials that everybody needs to successfully run groups and scale your work. So if that sounds like a smart move for you to get that shortcut, I'm going to share a link to that in the description below. And I'll tell you that I think healers should be making more money as a whole. I want there to be more empathic, sensitive, hardened people like you making more money, having more of the decision-making power, not sociopaths like Jeff Bezos. So if I can help therapists scale their reach, not get burnt out, make more money, it's actually going to help make the world a better place. And for me in my therapeutic work, as I get older, I'm so thankful that I run groups because of the spaciousness that it gives me in my schedule as my daughter is growing up and I get to spend time with her, and because I have less energy and less chi to be doing all of that super intense attunement and work. So it really is possible to leverage your time, make more money, help more people. All of those things can be true at the same time. And that is what I'm here for. So cheers to your future success. And I'll see you in the Art for Breakthroughs training.